What's up, guys? It's December 29th. It's 60 degrees outside. We're out here in the garage having a good time, doing some tackle prep, going through reels, going through baits, going through jigs, weighing jigs on the scale, putting them all together, making sure everything's good and tight for next year. So today was a good day. I figured I would shoot a video and talk to you guys about cranking setups and about a setup that caught me off guard, as well as a couple reels that I've ran through the whole season, rods I've ran through the whole season, give you my review on what I think about them, but talk to you about a setup that you can put in your arsenal for about $125 or below. So let's go. So the first setup we're gonna talk about is a setup you can grab for under 125 bucks all in. With discounts, with sales, you could probably end up getting this for under 100 bucks. But with some of the upgrades I have done to it, you're around 125 bucks or so. That is this setup right here. This is a favorite Whitebird. It is a very, very inexpensive rod. It's one of their lowest level rods as far as on their pricing tier, but it's a really, really, really good rod. And I'll tell you why. It's a medium heavy moderate, but the Whitebirds are all really soft rods. So I don't know if I can get this in here. They have a lot of tip action, and it's almost like having a glass rod because it's so soft. Supposedly it has a solid tip. It's just a really, really inexpensive setup. All right, so you can see this. The rod's flexing all the way up here by my hand. I mean, it's a moderate setup. It's really, really, really soft. For a mid-range crankbait like this MR6, this Mark Daniels crankbait, I mean, it's an amazing combination. The other lures that I throw on this setup is a 1.5 KVD, a 2.5 KVD. I throw the 1.5 flats on this. You could throw a Rapala DT4, DT6. Those baits, those mid-range baits, DT10, all those baits coupled with this rod are going to be absolutely deadly. One of the things I really like about this rod is it's not gonna break your bank. This rod comes in at $59 retail, before discounts, anything. I don't know about you, but that is absurd to have this nice of a rod that I've used for over a year. So if anybody has any quality concerns or issues, I've had no issues with this thing. This rod is rated for a max 3/4 ounce bait. So, I mean, you could throw a Series 5 on it. I've done that. You could throw a Series 6, but a Series 6 is getting on the top end of what this rod can handle. But overall, it's still going to handle it. It does really well. I can feel rock piles. I can feel stumps. I can feel, a lot of different stuff, and it works out really well. Now, what I've done on this setup, when I talk about the budget setup, I've coupled this with an Abu Garcia. I'm mostly a Shimano guy, so let's get that out there. I coupled this with a Max Winch, Abu Garcia, really inexpensive, cheap reel. These reels are like $40. It's a really good beginner setup. So this is a really nice setup. I've used this reel again all season, had a great time with it, really liked the combo altogether. I ended up purchasing 2 more rods so I could have more mid-range combinations. I can throw different line sizes, stuff like that. But for most of the guys that are gonna have 3, 4, 5 rods, this is a rod and reel setup that if you put in your arsenal is going to be deadly. So this reel, I've taken it, I've upgraded the bearings inside of it to a set of spool speeds, I've upgraded the handle. I wanted a little bit more leverage on the bait because when I'm using this, typically I am burning the bait through areas. I'm winding it as fast as I can. It's a 5:4 to 1 ratio. I typically end up being fast in a lot of areas. The 5:4 to 1 slows me down a ton. The spool speed bearings allow me to cast this thing a mile. The handle helps me get some leverage. So it's overall a really nice tight package that you can use and you can get inexpensively. Now, when you maybe want to upgrade the reel and go to a little bit nicer setup, same rod right here, go to a Shimano SLX. Now, this rod has a different braking system. Instead of magnetic, it has centrifugal brakes. It's 6:3 to 1, so it's gonna be a little bit faster, but it's not too bad. The Max Winch reels, I think like 22 inches per turn. The 6:3 to 1's 25. It's 2 or 3 inches per turn of the handle. It's not gonna be that big of a deal. So you can still burn this, you can fish it slow, you can do what you want to. This reel allows a little bit more versatility. This reel casts a mile out of the box. So really good, really smooth Shimano reel, casts a mile. You can get these for about $99. So when you put this whole setup together, you're at about 150 bucks all in, which is absurdly inexpensive for what you're getting. You're getting Shimano quality in a reel, and you're getting a really nice rod for $59.99. You can see it right there. That's retail price, before any discounts, before anything. Really awesome setup. I've been really happy with it. Just, you know, like I said, just for the normal angler, which is why I'm making these reviews, for the normal person, basically getting your hands on one of these rods is going to be easy. It's going to be cheap. It's going to be a budget setup. And for you to have a specific setup for crankbaits that allows you to still have sensitivity of graphite, but allows you to have a really soft tip rod, almost like a glass rod, is awesome. You're not going to miss fish. You're going to put fish in the boat or on the bank if you're a bank fisherman, or in your kayak, and you're not going to get broke off when it comes to price point. Now, the third rod we're going to talk about is for some of you boaters that are looking for, I guess you'd say, a 5XD, 6XD killer. I'm going to tell you right now, Favorite came out with, let me get this off here, these KVD triple grips are no joke. Favorite came out with this rod this year, and it hasn't really gotten a lot of exposure because I think a lot of guys haven't really tried it. It came out towards the end of the season. I think I used it a handful of times in August or September when it first came out. And it's because Favorite didn't have a glass cranking rod. They do now. They've got this. This comes in a medium heavy and a heavy. The 7-foot medium is coming out this year. Oh my gosh. Like I said, these triple grips are no joke. So this is the Phantom Phat glass cranking stick. This is the 7'4" medium heavy moderate. I throw this 5XDs, 6XDs. The other lure I throw with this is a Storm Arashi Deep 18. Really awesome setup, really awesome baits. That 18 to 20 foot mark is really what I'm targeting when I'm throwing a 5XD, 6XD, or an Arashi 18. This is the package. So the reel is 25 inches per turn. I throw this on a 6-3-1 Shimano SLX. I can throw this bait basically the entire spool. It's a really, really good length rod. It's gonna feel stiff at first until you actually get out there and start using. The first time I grabbed it, I thought it was a little bit heavy. Your bait's not overpowering the rod, and you've got enough backbone to drive, you know, some really stout KVD triple grips like these into a fish's mouth. I've caught some hogs on this, 5-6 pounders out of Lake Erie, and I've been really happy. I haven't lost a single fish yet on this rod. I would knock on wood, but we're on fiberglass, so I can't do that. So this rod is, I think, $149. It's a really, really, really nice rod. The piece that actually locks down, it has an aluminum reel seat, so you get a little bit more sensitivity in the rod. It's just really, really super nice. Split grip. The heavy does come in a one-piece cork. And like I said, they are going to come out with a 7-foot medium. I will probably give that a shot and try it out. But for the price point, I mean, you're talking a $50 rod that can handle almost everything I'm going to throw on a 7-foot medium. Probably going to end up sticking with this. Now, you could change reels out and run a Shimano Corrado 200i PG. If you can find one, those are 5.5 to 1 gear ratio. You can find an old Shimano 200B5, an old Shimano Corrado 200G5, like what I throw on my 8XDs and 10XDs. Something a little bit slower, but for most of you guys, a 6-3-1 reel, it allows you the versatility to burn the bait. If they really want it fast, they want it coming through an area, smacking a rock, smacking a pile, smacking a tree, whatever it is, you can do that. If it's a really slow presentation you're after, you can do that as well. It's not something that is going to limit you. The 6-3-1, I can throw a lot of different stuff on, spinner baits, everything. This would be a really good chatterbait rod as well because it is a glass rod. So on a chatterbait setup, you want it to act kind of like a crankbait rod. This rod would get it done. So a little bit of versatility with this rod, more so than this. This rod's really soft, the Whitebird is. There's no way I could throw really anything else on that rod except a mid-range or shallow crankbait. but that's okay because I have a dedicated setup that I can use for that. I have a couple setups now, so I can use those for that specific presentation, that specific bait, and I can get it in front of a fish, keep it in the strike zone, and know that if I hook a fish, or when I hook a fish, it's gonna stay pegged, it's gonna stay on. I've got enough backbone to get it in, I can play the fish, I can do what I need to, and not worry about my equipment. With this setup as well, I know I can throw it as far as I need to. I can throw almost a whole spool. I can do what I need to get this down, get it as deep as it'll go. This is 12-pound copolymer again. I do throw fluorocarbon sometimes. My big, heavy 8XD, 10XD rod is on 14-pound fluoro. Part of that's because 10XDs are almost 2 ounces, and you will break basically everything. You'll break off so many lures trying to throw it on 10 or 12-pound line that it's absurd. So 14-pound fluoro for anything 8XD, 10XD. I'm trying to get max depth, so I want a line that has neutral buoyancy. I've thrown fluoro. I don't mind 12-pound fluoro. Fluoro is just expensive. Copolymer gets the job done. I think a lot of guys are scared of mono, but I grew up on mono, so it's okay. With these setups, you can throw either one. I mean, I wouldn't be afraid to crank with braid on it if I really wanted to, just to try something else different. So, I mean, you can crank on 30-pound braid, just back the drag off. You'd have a lot of fun with it, and you'd still get the job done. But yeah, so it's 3 rod and reel setups that you guys can put in your arsenal relatively inexpensively. Like I said, you're under right at $100 to $125 here. You're right at about $150 here. This setup is going to run you between rod and reel about $250. But if you are going offshore and you're throwing a 5XD, a 6XD, a Series 5, Series 6, a DT, I would say 14 on up to like a DT 20, DT 18, this is your setup that you are going to absolutely love. These reels are really underrated. I've used them. I have about 10 of them now. I really fell in love with this reel, especially for the price point for $100. I use a set of spool speed bearings. I do an upgrade kit, get rid of all the bushings. You basically turn this reel into a Corrado. You can save some money, but right out of the box, you can take this reel, go out to the lake and start throwing baits, and you will see that if you have this dialed in appropriately, I use 2 brakes, sometimes 3 brakes. I leave the spool fairly loose. Man, you can bomb some baits. You're trying to get these down into that area where you know fish are going to be at come late spring, early summer, coming off winter as well. Man, you are not going to be able to beat this. So I left some links down below. You guys can go check these rods and reels out in different places. I just really wanted to give you some insight and some knowledge as far as what I'm throwing, because I've had some questions on what I'm using for crankbaits, what I'm using for mid-range, what I'm using for deep or deeper crankbaits, and what I recommend. So these 2 reels, these 2 rods are going to cover just about everything you could possibly throw. Like I said, the 8XD, 10XD stuff, they make a heavy. I have one behind me. It's an awesome rod. I pair that with a, an old Shimano Corrado G5 from, 2010, 2009. The reel works, everything is good to go, but for what you're going to do with this, for what most of you are going to be using this for, I'll put the crank and stick down for the bigger baits. This right here, this is your juice. You guys are going to absolutely love these. Like I said, check the links out below if you guys are in market or getting ready to look at something that'll help you come into the pre-spawn, coming into post-spawn, coming into summertime when you're throwing crankbaits around shallow, around docks, around rock piles, everything. Shallow, 10 feet, 12 feet on in, 14 feet maybe. This is your juice right here. So, yeah, that's pretty much it. Hope you guys got something out of this video. I hope that I was able to provide some insight on, some different gear that maybe you guys haven't been hip to or been told about, that you guys can get that puts you into some presentation unique setups for a budget. So see you guys next time. Tight lines.